back at you with a 31 Days of Halloween video. I thought we'd talk about something a little new today. Something that touches more than just fiction. Something that sits there and makes us question things about ourselves, like, which one's the mask? Which one's the face we show society? I am not a serial killer. The title alone just sounds really strange. You think, immediately put in a killer's POV. Obviously, this person is a killer, or maybe they're being framed, something like that.
That, or they like Captain Crunch very much.
Yes, it's possible.
Or
they hate Captain Crunch. Point is, I am not a serial killer has absolutely nothing to do with cereal. It has to do with the more common idea of someone who stalks people slowly, methodically, killing them for a need, of course, taking a trophy, something. And that's what happens in a small Midwestern town where young John Wayne Cleaver, nice nod to real-life serial killer John Wayne Gacy, finds himself battling his own inner demons while at odds with a real-life serial killer. Now, what this movie does really great right off the bat is casting is amazing. I don't know if you've heard of I'm Not a Serial Killer, but the one thing I can tell you right off the bat from this 2016, as in right now, instant classic, is that Christopher Lloyd and Max Records, both phenomenal actors. Christopher Lloyd, famous for, Back to the Future, Dr. Emmett Brown. You may have seen him in a thing or two here or there. And Max Records, who honestly is kind of surprising, because at first I was like, I know this guy, he's kind of got a Joseph Gordon-Levitt vibe, I've seen him in something. I couldn't pick it immediately. Honestly, that's the kid from Where the Wild Things Are, all grown up. Yeah, it's kind of astounding. It's real shocking stuff. And what's great is you finally sit there and see him grown up, and in a way that's much more mature than someone his age usually can portray. I expected more the impulsive teenage acting, but this is someone who, for all intents and purposes, really delivered a adult performance, a truly chilling performance. And that's why we're going to start with John Wayne Cleaver's character here, Max Records' character. This is someone who, from the very get-go, we know has dark impulses. As I said, he's battling his own inner demons. Specifically, he falls into the category of sociopath. John is unable to feel emotions in accordance with kind of the normal flow of things. More than that, he's seeing a therapist, and he specifically talks, I don't want to get into too much spoiler territory. Obviously, someone with problems sees a therapist. But one just great piece of information that's thrown out here is the McDonald Triad. Now, if you haven't heard of that before, that's a very, very popular theory / kind of building block used when talking about people who are sociopaths and as precursors for serial killer behavior. Now, the McDonald Triad, or trifecta, things like that, really comes down to three key components that usually we find in all serial killers' history. Big Macs, Quarter Pounders, and a Chick-fil-A? Not quite. You were wrong on the first, the second, and the third. But, close. I appreciate you trying. Try again later.
No, it's McDonald's.
Not McDonald's, McDonald. And McDonald, who, I'm sorry, I could get into a lot of information about what this isn't the video for, came up with this idea that there are these three common traits. Cruelty to animals, propensity for pyromania, love for fire, and bedwetting. Now, what makes it really great is we get to see those three things and how they affect this character throughout the movie. There's little nods, he talks about the idea at length, but we actually see where he's struggling with these concepts. The first time he actually stumbles upon something truly shocking to him, we see him wet his pants. When he's spending time alone, we see him actually just sitting around a fire by himself. He just wants to watch things burn, just stand there and enjoy it. And we also hear about how up until the point where he was told that hurting animals was wrong, he had no idea. Until he found out, he just thought that was just what people did to things that were lesser. And that leads to some very, very, very problematic things for the character John in this movie. Throughout the entire movie, he's kind of got a major handicap. Everything is kind of coming up him. And it's a great cat and mouse game, sort of, just not in the way you'd expect. You find yourself quite often wondering who exactly has the upper hand and what the real end game is going to be. There's a lot of twists and turns, some great supporting characters, but really what it comes down to is our main protagonist, which in this case, a sociopathic protagonist. That's a tough one to swallow for some people. And that's why I thought it was perfect to bring up at this time of the year. You know, a movie where not only do we have someone who's battling the urges to kill and hurt other people to the point where every time he thinks about hurting someone, he just says something nice instead because, hey, we all need our way to cope. But we also have, on the other side, someone who truly is killing and being brutal, relentless, just methodically, not just killing someone, but taking and destroying that body. None of the people who die in this movie are left intact. Everyone comes away with part of them missing. And a lot of that has to do with the idea of trophies, at least on the surface. Anyone who's seen Dexter or anything about any serial killer knows that serial killers like to take their trophies. Is this someone who's just merely trying to amass a grisly trophy collection, or is there something else in the works here? I'll leave it up to you. Now, Christopher Lloyd's character, amazing support. I did not expect this kind of role from him, especially not at this point in his acting career. He plays a character of the name Crawley. Crawley, neighbor, he's that. He's an old neighbor. He's a nice guy. He asks John things like, hey, can you help me figure out Snapchat so I can send my wife a picture of me kissing? You know, he's there to give John advice, a moral compass, poetry, philosophy. This is a man who's experienced life. His health is not what it was before, but above all, he loves his wife, and he enjoys his town, and he really cares about people around him, and that's why he does enjoy talking with John and things of that nature, and John helps him out. And you get this amazing relationship between these two characters who, on the surface, seem like they couldn't be any more different. Mr. Crawley is a lovable family man, married, seems to be doing everything right. John is loner to the extreme. There's a great scene in the movie where he's called in the office about his weird interests, and his only remark in response to the principal is, I was actually kind of wondering how many times you felt it was necessary to say normal in that sentence. And that's a powerful line delivery. Just that whole sequence, that in the trailer was really sold for me, so I was like, all right, I've got to see it. No holding back. Let's watch it. And I did. And then I immediately watched it again. And when I sat there and got back from watching it the first time and I actually was around other people again, I showed it again. And I've watched it a total of probably 6 or 7 times since my initial viewing. And each time I'm finding just a little bit more of that cat and mouse game that I really love. So things quickly start escalating in this movie, though. Let's not just sit there and make you think that it's just a purely mental game. As I said, bodies are racking up, and body parts are going missing. And that's another interesting dynamic to John's character. He is a mortician's assistant, as it were. It seems that his family, his household, they actually sit there and directly work with the bodies. This is a double-edged sword for John Wayne Cleaver because, as we know, he thinks about cutting people up because sometimes people are just like cardboard bags. It's not about what's on the surface. What's really interesting is what's inside the package. And that is exactly why John is such an easy person to pin this on. You spend the entire time following from his POV, so we know what he's seeing, we know what's going on, But if you just put yourself in anyone else's footsteps, anyone else in this movie, it's easy to look at John and say, yes, this weird kid who's always pushing the boundaries, he might be the one who's doing it. Someone's killing these people. Why can't it be him? And that's the one point where the movie, I think, actually missed a cue. Well, we get subtle suspicions from minor characters. We never get a direct confrontation. No one ever comes right out and says, John, did you do this? Did you kill these people? We don't get it. And I'm let down by that. I wanted that. I wanted it from maybe his mother, a friend, someone, even his counselor. Just someone to sit there and actually say, John, are you killing these people? But at the end of the day, that's the other problem with serial killers and real people is the people closest to serial killers don't ever want to believe that something so bad could truly be happening. And that was a missed cue.
Well, what if you, nerd, take a step back and think that maybe it would have drowned, it just would have been like background noise? Because if this guy is, potentially serial killer candidate, people accusing him of stuff, there's no emotional attachment, so it would fall on dead ears almost. So really, like I said, if they would have done anything, they would have probably picked a scene where, at school people are bullying him and stuff like that, which they already did anyways. But on top of the fact that him being a serial killer, he wouldn't even process it anyways. You know what I'm saying? Or the movie would have had to take a complete different direction where he would have just stabbed out some of the bullies in school.
Possibly. There's a chance it could have gone that way. Yes, I can definitely see your concerns there. But let's think about this from a detective's point of view. Let's step even further back and just use some context clues really quick. Evidence is piling up fast. More than that, the evidence itself is brought directly to where John is. John knows where the evidence is going to be going. He knows where the bodies are going to be. He knows who's going to be touching those bodies. John has a confrontation physically with someone in which he basically threatens the individual. More evidence. There's a sequence where John is seen, and then very, very soon after, someone he was seen with, or at least in proximity to, disappears. All of those things just beg to the question of why not just even one scene where the cops just had the suspicion. It just felt like there was never any real pressure on John other than the pressure he was putting on himself. There were some minor blow-ups with his parents, but, parent. See the movie, not going to explain it. Single parents, it doesn't help, it doesn't hurt, it's not essential to the story. But it does add a little something. That's where we get back into the idea of, alright, well, we got the serial killer, we got this kid, and no one's looking at him, so who are they looking at? No one. The entire movie's a guessing game. At no point do they sit there and try to stop and have the media say, oh, we suspect this person. There's no suspect that ever comes forward, and that's what makes the movie work and not work at the same time. It lends the credibility of, obviously in a small town, if things are happening so quick, yeah, you could cover it up if you have the right circumstances and things like that. But at the same time, this is reality, folks. People don't start getting killed and the cops just don't have any leads whatsoever. I mean, yes, there are situations like that, but there's usually a suspect. People are brought in. We never see that. And maybe that's just because we're focused on John's point of view. But it's a problem. And then we get to the actual heart of what it is John's facing. And I think that's really good for him because it's an idea of something that he cannot comprehend. Because John, being a sociopath, he's based in logic. He has to think about rational, logical thoughts. The reason he hasn't hurt people is because he has a set of codes. The same way Dexter and so many others who are famously not killing or only killing evil. You get the gist. But we get this enemy that John just can't rationalize with. And he tries to rationalize with it. He tries to connect to it. And ultimately that is what saves him. But it's a connection that he can't make normally. That's the greatest part of it. The only way John can survive this is if he can truly be a person. He has to stop being a sociopath and start being a human being. And I can say that confidently without spoiling the movie. The killer, you'll find out. You won't see it coming, or maybe you will, but not in the way you think. And the visuals, the background of the town, the supporting characters. Nobody in this movie feels truly useless. There were some minor moments that felt not the best, but overall, from beginning to end, it's constantly an atmospheric, tension-building movie. You want to watch this story. You want to watch it all the way through. So, guys, this one really caught me off guard, and I'm going to say first A of the year. Of my 31 Days of Halloween, I Am Not a Serial Killer a solid A-. The things that are bad, I can overlook based on the sheer fact the acting is so good, the story is so tight, and most of all, it really just helps me kind of get in that mood, that feeling of October, Halloween. So don't go anywhere, because this is just one day. So many more coming. If you like the video, guys, subscribe, hit the like button, hit the not like button, but you better tell me in a comment below why you didn't like it. If you like the video, of course, you can follow me on Twitter, Nerd Word Order. Guys, I got some more movies to watch. See you soon.